My wife had a beautiful smile for every person in that room. She was glowing and happy until she turned her eyes toward me. Then her face changed and she said words that stung. She told me that I was making her feel bad and asked me to please not talk anymore. Just like that, the whole room went very quiet. I felt my face get warm, but I forced a smile and stayed silent for the rest of the night. I sat there while others talked, feeling like a ghost at the table. But on the long drive home, I made a very big choice. For the first time in our 14 years of being married, I chose to walk away without making a scene. In this space we have built together, we value sharing stories that touch the heart. We focus on those big moments that change our lives forever. I would love for you to take a moment and think about this story. Who do you believe crossed the line? Please share your thoughts with this group of caring people. We are all here to learn from each other and support one another as we navigate the ups and downs of life. Now, let's talk about how this all began. I am Daniel Harper. I am 42 years old, and I spend my days working as a project manager. In my work and my life, I like to keep things calm. I try to be a person that others can really count on when things get tough. I truly believe that showing respect is the very base of every good relationship. My wife is Natalie Harper. She is 39, and she is very good at her job planning big events. She is always full of energy, and she is very sure of herself. But sometimes she does not see how much her words can hurt the people she loves. Then there is my older brother, Ryan. He is a teacher who has a lot of wisdom. He believes that we should solve our problems by having quiet, honest talks instead of having big fights where everyone else can see our pain. Natalie and I have been married for 14 years now. Like every couple you know, we had times when we did not agree on things, but we always seem to find a way to move forward and keep going. Or at least, that is what I thought was happening in our home. Over the last year, I noticed that something began to change. Natalie started making little jokes about me when we were around our friends or our family. At first, they seemed like they did not mean any real harm. She would laugh a little and say things like, Daniel would lose his own keys if they were not tied to his belt. Everyone at the table would laugh, and because I loved her, I would laugh too. But as time went on, the jokes started to feel more personal and sharp. She would stop me in the middle of a sentence when I was talking. She would fix my stories, as if I was telling them wrong. She would roll her eyes whenever I said what I was really thinking. Every time I tried to tell her later that it hurt my feelings, she would just shake her head and say, Daniel, you are being much too sensitive. One night, her company was having a big party to celebrate. The restaurant was beautiful and filled with her coworkers and friends. Everyone seemed so happy to be there. In the middle of the dinner, someone asked us the story of how we first met. I smiled because I love that story, and I started to tell them about our first date. Before I could even finish my second sentence, Natalie started to laugh in a way that was not kind. Oh, please, she said as she waved her hand in the air. You are making me feel bad by telling it that way. Then she looked right at me and said, just do not talk. The whole table went completely silent. No one knew what to say. I just kept my smile on my face and said, of course. For the rest of the dinner, I did not say a single word to anyone. I just sat there and realized how much space I was giving up just to keep her happy. When the party finally ended, we walked to the car in the cold night air. Natalie asked me if I was upset about what happened. I told her that it was not just about tonight, but about the 100 small moments that happened before tonight. She said she did not understand what I meant. When we finally got home, I did not go to bed. Instead, I packed a small bag with my clothes. She watched me and asked where I was going. I told her I was going to stay with my brother for a while. I told her I was leaving this conversation until we were both ready to talk to each other with kindness and real respect. She looked shocked. She said she never thought I would actually walk away from her. When I got to my brother's house, Ryan opened his door and made some warm coffee for us. He sat with me and asked a very important question. He asked if she had just been mean to me tonight, or if tonight was simply the moment I could no longer ignore how I was being treated. As we talked, I realized I had started to believe I deserved to be spoken to in a mean way. Ryan looked at me and told me that no human being deserves that. He said that respect is not something you should ever have to ask for or beg for in your own home. The next afternoon, Natalie called me. We agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop near our house. She looked very tired, like she had not slept at all. She told me she kept thinking about the dinner and realized that when she told me to stop talking, no one was laughing. They were all just uncomfortable because of how she treated me. Then she whispered, "I crossed a line." She said she was truly sorry for everything. She told me she'd been feeling so much stress at work and started using jokes to hide how scared she was. She did not mean to hurt me, but she saw now that her words caused real pain. I told her I was sorry, too. I should have been honest about my hurt months ago, instead of pretending that everything was fine when it was not. She reached across the small table and took my hand in hers. She said she did not want us to be the kind of people who hurt each other to feel better. Over the next many months, we worked very hard on being better to each other. If something bothered us, we sat down and talked about it right away. If one of us made a mistake, we said we were sorry without turning it into a big fight. Slowly, the way we talked to each other became much kinder and softer. We learned how to protect each other's hearts again. One evening, not long ago, we went to another party with friends. Someone asked me a question about my work. Before I said anything, I looked at Natalie. She gave me a warm smile and said, "I would love to hear what Daniel thinks about that." It was such a small moment, but to me, it meant everything. On the drive home that night, she thanked me for walking away that night months ago. She said if I had not walked away, she might never have seen how much her words were hurting me every single day. It saved our marriage. You do not protect respect by shouting or being loud. Sometimes the strongest thing you can ever do is to quietly step away from a talk that is no longer kind. Walking away was not about trying to win a fight. It was about taking care of the dignity that every relationship needs to survive. Sometimes the person you love does not see they have crossed a line until they see the results of their own actions. Respect is a quiet promise that says, "I value you and I will protect your heart."